Welcome back to the Hair of the Dog podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Begley, and today we're talking all about websites and how to make those websites work for you. You're going to love my conversation with Mikaela Vargas from Pet Marketing Unleashed. We are diving all into best practices for websites, why blogging's not dead, how to automate your website, the biggest bang for your buck, small tweak that you can make on your website right now, today, to help increase your conversions. You're not going to want to miss it, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Hair of the Dog podcast. If you're a pet photographer ready to make more money and start living a life by your design, you've come to the right place. And now, your host, pet photographer, travel addict, chocolate martini connoisseur, Nicole Begley.
Hey everybody, Nicole here from Hair of the Dog, and today I have a very special guest with us on the podcast, Mikaela Vargas from Pet Marketing Unleashed. Welcome, Mikaela, to the Hair of the Dog podcast. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yay! Yeah, so Pet Marketing Unleashed. Marketing is definitely something that many a pet photographer struggles with, and I'm sure that is pretty much across the board with all the pet industry because let's face it, we all got into this industry because we love animals. And
Absolutely.
So many of my students are like, man, I just want to work with the animals, but there's not too many animals that have their own checkbook. So we still need to bring the humans along. So just tell us maybe a little bit about your background and how you got into marketing and just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So as you said, my name is Mikaela. I own Pet Marketing Unleashed. It's a company all about helping pet business owners build optimized and stress-free pet businesses. And we do this through website design, VIP days, branding, our template shop, and education. I actually got started more on just the marketing side of things. So I was doing social media marketing for pet businesses. And then one of my clients actually ended up needing a website, and I kind of fell in love with that. And that's kind of how that journey into website design came into play. And then from there, it was actually learning what your website can actually do for you, right? It's not just,
Right.
Here, my business exists, like reach out to me and like, good luck. It's a lot more than that. You can do a lot with it, especially in the pet industry when we are typically working, a whole bunch, or maybe we're struggling with getting clients and things like that. Everything else can kind of fall to the wayside in terms of, your website and your systems and onboarding and all of that kind of stuff. So how can we get your website working for you so you can save that time, so you can actually spend more time with the dogs without worrying so much about the business side and getting those clients in?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of people think that, okay, all I need to do is create some beautiful images and put a website together, and then I'm going to have all these clients and they're just going to come. But it really doesn't work that way.
Right, exactly. Which, photos, obviously, with your listeners, I'm sure that primarily are photographers.
Right.
Photos, they know the importance and value of high quality photographs. Like they understand that, which, some of the other pet businesses that I do work with don't quite, know the value of that, like the photos and the quality and everything like that. So it's so nice when I do work with pet photographers because I'm like, oh, you guys can bring those amazing photos, which can really help. But there's so much more to it than just, those photos. For sure.
Yeah. What are some maybe common mistakes that you usually see on websites when you first maybe bring a client on and they need a website overhaul?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I'm thinking of all sorts of different things. I feel like the main thing is honestly kind of taking a step back from the design and figuring out what your onboarding process really is. So, because sometimes when you go to a website, you're like, okay, I want to work with this person, but I don't even know what the next step is. Like, should I call them? Do I email them? Like, I don't really want to call them because I don't like to get on the phone.
Right.
There's all sorts of options and it can become a little bit overwhelming. So I like to tell people to have one clear main call to action. Like, what do you want your potential client to do when they get to your site, and having that on your website and having it on every page of your website. Like if you want them to schedule a call, a discovery call with you, or if they can book automatically, whatever it is, having a centered call to action is the way to go for sure.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's a point that a lot of people miss is they just jump into, oh, let me see these different templates. This one's pretty. Boom, let's use this. But they don't give any thought as to what the intention of the website is and what they want the experience of the consumer to be and what action they want them to take, and figuring out what information they need to get them over that, oh, well, those are pretty pictures, to, oh, I really want to work with this person. Because pet photography is tough in that there's no, unless the animal is older or, starting to deteriorate in health, there's usually not a timeline. Like high school seniors, like you're graduating high school, you do photos now. Newborn baby, oh, you're having a baby, you do photos now. Even families, it's like, oh, I want to capture the toddler age. Oh, I want to capture before they lose their teeth. Oh, it's before they go to high school. There's phases that cause us to take action. But pet photography, other than like puppy or old dog, like it's really easy for people to just be like, oh, I really want to do that, but I'm busy this week. I'm busy. And then before you know it, it's been like 3 years and they're like, oh, I still haven't done anything. So I feel like we really need to bring our marketing game to the table. And gosh, yeah, the website's such an important piece of that because it's really our storefront.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like that's where a lot of the copywriting can also come into play too, so that you're not just, reaching out to your whole community and saying like, hey, this is just like, I'm a pet photographer, book with me. There's a lot more to it in terms of who are you speaking to? What is the experience? What's the transformation? Like, what do you want to do to change their life? Right. Like how are these photos in their homes going to, make a difference or an impact? And speaking to them directly, I feel like, especially when you go back to like the mistakes, I feel like a lot of people like to just say, hey, I offer pet photography, but sometimes it's a lot more than that, right? Like, what are you actually giving to them? What's the importance of it? And speaking directly to them so that they feel heard and understood. That's like really what can make them take that action.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. I think, a lot of people just kind of glaze over that. And I think the other mistake a lot of people make too is they're afraid to let their personality show through onto their website. And so we run into all of the pet photographers' websites sounding exactly the same. And I can tell you, it's like, okay, you go to the About Me page and it's like, I had the camera in my hand since I was little and my first dog. Like, okay, no, not going to cut it. Let's actually like showcase some of ourselves, put our personality out there and attract people that want to work with us. And then price becomes just like not even a consideration.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing pet photography with the owner as well, because I know that it can be hard to be on the other side of the camera,
Yes.
right? So you need to feel comfortable and feel like you can relate to the photographer for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We're so much personal brand, unless you're running like a big, pet photography business with associate shooters. If it's just you, it's a personal brand. So we need to have our person in it. And even this, I get on my little soapbox for all you pet photographers out there. And if I go and I see that your like About Me page doesn't even have a picture of you, or it's a picture of you hiding behind the camera, like no bueno. Gotta have a picture of ourselves on the website. And the other giant mistake I see are people forgetting to put their location of who they serve or where they serve, because we're pretty much a local business. And yeah, it's a really easy mistake because depending where you get your template, that might not be built in there. And then it's like, oh, you just have to guess.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And when you going back to the photo too, I've read, and I don't know exactly like where this science has come from, but it's apparently a scientific thing where if you have a photo of you with your eyes looking into the screen as if you're looking at your website viewer, that actually builds more trust. So they're more likely to trust you if you're actually looking into the camera for that, About Me page photo. So that's one thing to definitely try out. But yeah, when you talk about location, that is such a huge thing. And it's such a simple thing that people can do. And not even just to like let them know, but also just for search engine results, like for Google and SEO, like that's essential to have your locations on there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Oh my gosh. We've been recording for 9 minutes and we just threw out all sorts of action items for you guys. So go get a picture, make sure your location's on there, make sure your website has a job. Let's maybe talk a little bit more about our websites and the flow through the websites. Like, what should people kind of consider as they're trying to map out what they need? Because I think a lot of pet photographers, when they're building their business, especially, know they need a website. And then they get total analysis paralysis thinking they need like a 37-page website. When, I mean, in actuality, you could probably even do just one single page if you needed to with just, a couple little spots. So kind of what are the different jobs that our website might need to do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's almost kind of going back to what we were talking about in the beginning. It's like taking a step back and realizing or, evaluating like, what do you want your onboarding process to look like? What do you want it to look like from when someone first experiences your business and then to where they book with you or after the session even. So kind of outlining like, what does that process look like? And then how can we get that into your website and begin working for you? So that can be as simple as, getting a call scheduler integrated. And I know we both love Dubsado, the CRM system to kind of help with your leads and contact form and all that. But they also have now a call scheduler that you can embed as well so that you can get a form and a call scheduler into your website so that you can get those leads coming in that direction. So that, depending on how much you do want to automate, that's something that you can put into your website. But as far as the rest of the flow, I actually really like to kind of outline the experience of what it's like to work with you. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But I think that's one of the biggest things because like you said, it's if you're doing everything right in terms of your marketing and your copywriting, the pricing becomes a little bit less of an issue so much as like, what is this experience going to look like? Getting people excited to work with you, I think is so powerful, as well as the copywriting, again, kind of going back into like really creating that experience. It's not just, hey, here's some pet photography, services
this
in
is
your
pretty.
area.
You should hire me.
Right, exactly. Like obviously I'm a good photographer, but and people like to connect through that, right? Like what are the stories that you can tell? And that's, where you can kind of get into the blogging side of things too and talking about like, this is what the experience looks like. This is what, from past clients or if people have a certain area that they want to go do a shoot and you've done a shoot there, that's kind of, so people can see that you've done, shoots in those areas, what it can look like for them so they can see their pet or their dog in those photos and be like, oh my gosh, I have to work with this photographer.
Yeah, that's a great point. One other thing that I make sure everybody has on their website are potential objections that you need to bust with your client before they would hire you. So in the pet photography space, it is 100% my dog won't behave. Like nobody thinks, they think all these pictures that we create are these like perfectly behaved obedience champions. They're not. And then also that my dog has to be on leash. So they think that therefore we can't have these beautiful outdoor photographs, even like action ones. Like sometimes the dog's on a leash. So critical. I put that like, try to put it even on your homepage. Like they're going to see that beautiful like header image and be like, oh, that's amazing. My dog won't do that. So like, boom, who you are or who you serve, how you help people, what you do. And it's like, boom, let's bust that objection right there underneath. Even if it's just a link to like a blog post that you wrote about it, which I am a giant fan of repurposing. You strike me as someone that would also love repurposing things. Maybe we can dive into that because I think a lot of people were like, oh God, a blog. Oh my God. And no one's saying you need to commit to doing a new blog post every week, rain or sun, all the time. Like, I don't know. I think it's okay to do a blog post when you're like, have a reason to do a blog post. It doesn't have to be on a schedule because it's not like, what was it, 2002 or 2005 maybe, where people were like signing up for blogs. Like where those days are past, but they're still so important. So maybe what are some reasons that people might want to consider, reviving that dead blog of theirs?
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you brought that up because I feel like people don't realize that. I feel like they almost think it's like a completely separate thing, right? Like, okay, I got to do like this random blog post, like you said, on the schedule. Like I have to, just write a blog, but like thinking
and
about.
It's usually like, here's Fido that I photographed at XYZ Park.
Right.
Like, look, okay, that's not helping.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And variety is key there, but also taking in consideration what, again, I know I keep going back to like that onboarding process or whatever, but like going back to like how you can make your life a little bit easier is a great way to start with blog posts. So having more of those educational blog posts of, number one, objections of what, clients are typically either asking you or maybe what they're, if you hop on the phone with them, these are the reasons why they don't end up booking with you or something like that you can actually repurpose into blog posts. And those are ways, frequently asked questions, like education, like there's so many like things that you can pull with your blog posts that are saving you time, answering questions, getting you more business, not to mention, again, going back to SEO and how blogging can really help your business there. It's truly powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Then once you write that blog post, I think a lot of people think it's like, oh, it's written, I never use it again. But you can pull bits and pieces for social media, send them back to your website, send them to that blog post. Some of that stuff's kind of evergreen. So you can share the My Dog Won't Behave social media stuff again and again and again, and maybe pull out like 3 or 4 snippets for one blog post that you can just mix and match with different images, and you can like share that for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Or even if you have like welcome emails or something that you send out to clients, or a info packet or something like that they can download on your website that can link to blog posts. So, I mean, you can pull and piece that together. And I love using, even in my own business, I do that. We make blog posts based on something that needs to be answered for customers or clients. And then we can pull that into email templates or customer support, things like that it makes it so that when people have those questions, they can be answered before they actually need to go now and ask, right? Like that's another barrier to entry when they're like, oh my gosh, I have all these questions. But imagine if they're all answered before you even hopped on the call, then you can talk about the experience and get excited about that rather than, worrying about these, more so objections and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Okay. So many things. I can hear people in my head, the early, like the people just starting their business. So I'm sure you didn't. I know I didn't. My first website was a Blogspot blog.
Oh, wow.
This is like 2010, which you're like, oh man, the internet's been around for a while. And like 2010, the internet was around for a while, but like blogs were brand new. And then I went to a pro photo website. And then I went to WordPress. Now I'm on Squarespace. My Hair of the Dog one's still WordPress. But anyway, I can hear the frustration and really the overwhelm of someone new in business saying, I don't even know how to price a print. I don't even know like what any of this is. So take a deep breath, dear listener. We'll talk about that in just a second. All of these things we've been talking about are definitely things that you can build upon. I know that my first website was literally like nothing. And you slowly but surely start to add in, oh, let's answer that question with that blog post. Oh, let's go through my welcome sequence. Oh, we can beef that up a little bit. Oh, I keep getting this question. Let's add that in. So it's just a constant evolution. But if you're brand new, like what are the must-have things on their website that it's like, let's just have a minimum viable product to launch this puppy and get it out there?
Yeah, that's great. And it's funny that you mentioned that because it is overwhelming when you're first getting started, no matter what kind of business you have. And I think people, when you talk about like that paralysis or like you feel like you have to have everything perfect before you launch it out to the world. And that's totally not the case. And in fact, as a website designer, I can say that there are plenty of businesses out there that are successful that don't have one. Do I recommend that? No, but I mean, you'll be all right. Like, it's all a stepping stone. Everything that you can do can make such a big difference. But as far as the most important things on your website, like you said, you can get started so simply and have a landing page or like 1-page website. Again, just letting them know what you offer by speaking to them. So speaking to what their core needs are. So digging into more of like the copywriting, I feel like is super important. And then giving them the next steps, like telling them what the next step is. And then from there, you can kind of build it out, right? Like you can start putting in like your photos from other shoots and building your blog and then start building it from there. But you can launch before all of that's ready. Like you can have your website published and launched to the world by getting the basics up there and then just start, piecing it together as you grow and as you evolve and as you learn, right? Because that's when you kind of learn more about what your clients are looking for, what their objections are. Like that's when you can start to kind of piece everything together and spruce it. And you do learn as you go, because you do learn through your clients, like figuring out these are the clients I really don't like to work with, or these are the ones that I love, so that's where you can really kind of piece that together. And so a lot of times when you are first getting started, it could be not necessarily worth your money to like invest 10 grand into this huge project because you don't really know who you really want to work with and who you enjoy working with the most. So that's where you can kind of start a little bit more basic and just get your information up, get your, figure out what that process is that you want it to look like as far as the onboarding, make it clear to them what, so they know exactly what that next step is, and then make sure that you're speaking to those people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, baby steps, really.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's, especially with my, my students in the Unleashed Website Academy course, I know a lot of them kind of get hung up on like, well, I don't have, my copywriting down perfect, or I don't have this down perfect. And so they won't publish. And I'm like, you're going to be changing. I'm always updating my own website, always. So it's something that, you get the stuff up there that you need to get up there. And then it's an evolutionary process. It's always going to be evolving.
Yes, absolutely. So with that evolutionary process, what are some of the, because you and I are both automation fans, what are some pieces, if they're like, all right, I got my basic website up, what's the first piece of automation that you would want to tackle on a website to, and by automation, for those of you guys out there, maybe they're like, well, what exactly do you mean by that? It's definitely like somebody sends an inquiry form and then there's an automatic reply, or it automatically gets sent over to my email newsletter. So it gets added to there, things like that. Or when they sign their contract, they automatically get a proposal, or you can automate so much of your workflow. But where would you start with their very first automation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like for me, because I could almost put this as a mistake, even though I wouldn't necessarily, especially if you're just getting started.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is that when you have your contact form, someone submits it, and then underneath it just says like, thanks for submitting, we'll get in touch within 24 hours. You're missing out on that because you're not getting back to them right away. So, and that actually happened to me on the client side of things when my husband and I actually eloped in Joshua Tree. And so we wanted a photographer, and we reached out to, I think like 3 or 4 different photographers. And I don't even remember the other ones I reached out to. The one that responded immediately with an automation, and she was like, the automation, the response was like so perfect. I'm like, she had all this information. I was like, this is so exciting. I'm booking with her immediately before the other ones even got back to me. Like, I don't even remember. Like, so I feel like that is the biggest first step, is that contact form. Like, what are you going to do after that to kind of make it more of an elevated experience? So it's not just like, all right, I'll email them back next time I'm in the office, which you can do too, but kind of getting them started with the next steps. So you can do all sorts of things. Even with like Wix, you can set up a really simple email automation to go out once they fill out that form. You can redirect them to a new page that says like, hey, thanks for submitting the form. Like, here's what to look, you can redirect to blog posts. Like, you can do so much there, but like giving them something to do to get excited in the meantime, or allowing them to get started, is definitely like the first place to start.
Yeah, because they just made a big move in raising their hand and contacting you.
Yeah.
So you want to capitalize on that excitement and the momentum, because if you're going to get back to them in a day or two, now they're busy with, 8,000 things going on with life, and they maybe don't have time. The excitement's worn off. So
especially when you talked about, the difference between pet photography and perhaps like senior portraits and things like that. So like, you're right. Like when they are taking that first move, and it's this, I forget what it's called. I think it's called the Cialdini commitment concept. So once someone makes a small, super small commitment to your business, and that can be anything, that can be following you on social media, it can be filling out that initial form, they're going to be more likely to make larger commitments to your business in the future, which means they're, if they're in that zone and they just took that action, like keep them going so that they can actually get on the phone with you. And then they're going to be more likely to actually get on the call. They're going to be more likely to book with you, all of that. It kind of just unfolds. It's like a spiral almost in a good way.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Oh my gosh. The thank you page could just be so simple, of just a hidden page. And I'm going to raise the bar a little bit and put this out there, that I think my people should take their phone, put it on video, and have a little video of themselves saying, hey, thanks so much for reaching out to me. Because I have found that inquiries have changed a little bit. Back when I started in 2010, like 11 years ago with my business, it was like phone calls were the gold standard. You had to call people back. You had to get them on the phone. I think that's changed a bit. And the reason for that was that connection you get when you actually talk to someone, even on the phone. But now with video so readily available, you, I think, make even more of a connection with that pre-recorded video than you even do necessarily on the phone, because people get to see you. They get to see your mannerisms. I forget what the stat is. You and I are just like making up stats over here. We're like, I've heard this before. I don't know where. But people make a decision about you in like 2 seconds or something like that, like whether they like you or not. So not to add more pressure to your video, but if you're just being yourself, most people are going to like you. But it creates more of that connection. And then I think they understand that you're not like in your computer doing that live video. They know it's a pre-recorded message. You can let them know, hey, an automatic email sent out to you with some of the information that's on this page. So check your email for that. And then you let them know when to expect to hear from you again or what their next step is. You can go ahead and book a call with me right here, or I'll be reaching out to you tomorrow if I don't hear from you. So that's my gauntlet. I'm throwing it down. You guys get out there and record a video. Because, 5 or 6 years ago, it was hard because you would have to like set up like a video camera, but we have a phone that has great video. I don't even use like I had a Fuji camera that I bought at one point, like the X-T3 or something. So I'm like, I'll use this for video. My phone camera is so darn good. I just use that all the time.
And sometimes it's more relatable. It's like more relatable to just have a casual video that's up there that doesn't necessarily look all, spruced and perfectly crafted. Like if it's just a casual response, people really relate to that. So I love that idea. I think that's great.
I have a hack too. If everybody's out there like worried about not saying the right thing, of course you can take a whole bunch of takes, but you can also, oh gosh, what's it called? They have all these, what's it called? Teleprompter apps. Some are free, some are just a couple bucks. I've used them just periodically, not very often. If there's something that's kind of like a longer something and there's just certain points I need to hit or ways I need to say something, I might use it. Rarely, maybe like 3 times a year, but it's there. And it's a very nice way to feel a little bit more secure. And then you do that a couple times, and then maybe you kind of riff it one time and see which one feels better to you. But it's a good way to get a little bit of confidence. The trick, of course, is to act a little bit more, maybe feel like you're acting a little bit more like emotional, like excited about different things, because you're reading, so you don't want it to come across like you're reading. So that's the only potential drawback there. But it's a nice, easy way to take a little of the pressure off.
Yeah, 100%. That's actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when we were on the Empowered Preppreneur interview series together, and I had the sales page for that, I did create a 2-minute video. And at that point in my business, I had rarely done video or much like talking. And so I actually did. That was the only time I've ever used one of those apps, and it did help. Yeah.
Right.
It's right. So I definitely agree with that. If you're feeling like insecure to get on video, and it's, it's only, it doesn't have to be a long video either, a 1-minute thing.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good idea. Yeah. I love that.
Grab your dog and say, hey, I'm Nicole. This is my dog. So-and-so. I can't wait to meet your dog. Thanks so much for contacting me. There's more information down below, and it's coming at you in email. There you go, guys. That's all you need to say. Sub your name for Nicole, though.
Done. Done. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, because people's attention span's so short anyway. If they click over and it's an 8-minute video, they're not going to watch it. So if you keep it under 90 seconds, awesome. I think people will watch that, and you let them know basically what the next step is. That's kind of my rule all through my business. I will sit down sometimes and kind of write out my workflow and make sure that at every touch point with my client, it ends with me telling them what's next, what they need to do, or when they'll hear from me again, which is a good thing to consider.
Clarity is everything, especially when you're onboarding or working with clients.
Yeah. And I do that too. I don't know if you do this too for your workflow. When you start to put it together, I put it together, obviously for my space of like the photographer running the business. But then I try to forget I know anything at all about it. And I try to look at it from my client's perspective and see if there's any holes. Or you can grab a friend or another photographer and just be like, hey, can you go through my inquiry process and let me know what's not clear? Because that will open up a lot of potential.
Oh, 100%, especially from somebody who doesn't actually know the pet photography world, right? If they're running through it, and you might think that that's actually like counterproductive, like, right, you're going to somebody who has no idea what you do. But at the same time, those are the people that are like, okay, like, wait, like, well, what does this mean? Or, I'm confused about this terminology, right? We might use certain terminologies that our clients have no idea what that even means. So getting clear, dumbing things down if you need to, putting the next steps, clarifying when you're going to be in touch next. All of those things can really be so beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So fun. All right. Let's jump back, keep going on this automation train. So we have our thank you page, and ideally like an email that would go out to. What other automations could people that are like ready to upscale? Again, if you guys are just starting out, earmuffs, like go make your video on your thank you page and then come back to this. But what are some other automations that you love?
Oh, that's a good question, because we've touched on blogging a little bit too. And I feel like the blogging piece of it is where you can really pull that into your process. So when it comes to sending those, the thank you emails or whatever is next in your process, that's where you can kind of piece together resources for them to either get started or answer questions in the meantime while you're out doing something else and not with them. So I would say getting together your list of emails or like email templates and things like that, so that you can get that automated into your system. So whether that's in the form of having those blog posts and things like that you can link to, making sure that you're crossing all your dots and or I don't know,
crossing your T's and dotting your I's.
Thank you. Thank you. Pregnancy brain.
Unfortunately, that doesn't go away, because then it's baby brain, and then it's like toddler brain, and then it's like, now I just have kids and I'm busy.
Yeah, I have heard that, which is very unfortunate. But
so sorry, don't want to burst your bubble.
I know. No, I've heard that, unfortunately. But yeah, so I mean, making sure that you have all of your resources, giving them more information, and then kind of consolidating it, right? Because I think a lot of times when people are like, all right, perfect, like here's everything you need to know,
right,
like under the sun, and it's just a little bit too much, or like your email is like now a novel. So that's where blog posts can come into play. And that's where like info packets, I don't know what you call them. I know there's so many different.
Yeah. I call them like an inquiry packet, like after they book. So basically like a welcome book kind of thing, a welcome packet.
Exactly. Or like there's lookbooks, like people can call all sorts of different ways. And sometimes people do that for new clients who have already booked with them, or it can be for potential clients if you want to give them more information. But it's kind of created. And I know that sometimes we get lost in like, oh, we just want something to look really pretty. But the reasoning behind, having something like that is it's easier to flow through. It looks really professional, and people can kind of get a sense of like everything they need to know without it just being like a really long email. But that's a really nice way to kind of, especially if you are including also a call scheduler and things like that in that next email for the next steps, like whatever your next step is, but giving them information on things that they can do in the meantime before that call to keep them excited to answer any questions that are, really big questions that like maybe they're like, I don't know if I want to hop on a call. Oh, wait, she answered that question right here. Like, okay, all right, this is in my price range, or this is, whatever it is. I can kind of wean more clients too. So it's not wasting your time also, but kind of consolidating, finding the good fit with that. I hope that answers that question.
It does. Yeah. I think I can sum it up in a way of, hey, if you don't want to proofread it because it's too long, your clients don't want to read it either.
Right. Exactly. And even just like simple things, like, I know this sounds so silly. It's a silly suggestion, but formatting your email so that it's not just like a long email. Like you can use bullet points and bold and like all of that kind of stuff in your email, and then have it set up as a template. And you can do that in Gmail even. So you can have email templates in Gmail ready to go. You can also do that obviously in Dubsado, have your canned emails in Dubsado or whatever CRM system that you're using, so that these emails are ready to go, but they look really clean so that they're easy to flow through and they're clear. Like if you're saying like, here are the next steps, bold that, put a semicolon or a colon, and then list out the option, list out the next steps so that it's clear and easy for them to flow through.
Yeah. You want it to be scannable, like your website and everything else, because we have less. Goldfish have either the same or higher attention span than we do. Maybe I don't remember because I wasn't paying attention to it. No, I don't know.
So exactly.
Yeah. So case in point. But
Right.
anyway, one other question with those calls to action. What would you recommend if you had a website and you're like, I want you to book, but basically having a secondary call to action, like if you'd like to schedule a call, click here. Would you recommend like picking one that's like, this is the call to action I prefer? And then having like another one underneath that's like, hey, if you need more info, reach out to me here, get a call.
That's a really good question. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. For example, if you had like your contact page or something, I like to give people the option that has the least barrier to entry, just because, if we have, say you want your first like part of the process is for them to book a call, right? But what if I come to your website and I'm like, I don't know if I want to hop on a call with this person yet.
Right.
And when you talk about calls, people don't necessarily want to hop on the phone as much anymore.
Right.
And that is a millennial thing when we're talking about statistics.
Yeah.
That is something that they don't really want to hop on the phone. They just want like immediate responses.
Right.
So anyways, and now I just lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay with the call to action.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, in the contact forms.
Yes. So giving them the option to take whatever is the least, barrier to entry. And when I talk about barrier to entry, it's just what is the simplest way to get them to take the teeniest bit of action or commitment or anything like that. So I like to have a really simple way for them to reach out to you or get started and things like that. But so on your contact page, if you do have a contact form, keeping it really basic and simple on that contact form, the initial one.
Yeah.
But then also giving them like, hey, if you're ready to get started, book a call with me and here's this. But if you have any, questions prior and you're not quite ready to hop on a call, giving them a secondary option is such a good idea. But so focusing more on which might seem a little bit counterproductive because we're not just like, all right, call.
Right.
But you're allowing them to, say they have questions first. You don't want huge barrier to entry. Unless you're like really high in demand and you're like taking applications and like that whole thing, like, we're trying to get people in the door. And by having your onboarding system, like working for you after that contact form, you can still have like clients be funneled so that you're not, I think a lot of times like we don't want to get on the phone and like waste our time with people that aren't the right fit. Right. Like, so you can still have your process be helping you with that so that even if they reach out to you and then they figure out, all right, this is either way out of my budget or I actually don't mesh with this person. And that's actually totally fine. I know people kind of are like, no, like I want to work with everybody. But if you're not working with those people who aren't the right fit, like that's kind of where that can come into play. And I think that's really important as well. So you can, even if you're still having them just fill out that contact form, those next steps can help wean down. So you're not just hopping on a call with like every single person that comes in the door. Yeah.
I try to tell students like, it gives me heart palpitations sometimes when you go to like their contact me page and it's like you want, like basically you're applying for a passport. It's like, all right, I need your name and your address and this and that and your dog and why and choose here. And like no, name, way to get back in touch with them and like, what's your question? Like make it really, really easy. I've even started putting on mine how they prefer me to get back to them with email, phone, or text. Because, my average, I would say my target market is usually 30s, 40s, 50s, somewhere in there. So like adult, like in the main adult years. But depending on where they are in that spectrum, they have very different requests on how I reach them. So like my older clients might want a phone call and my younger clients definitely don't. And they might just be fine with text, in which case I will I'm not going to text them everything that I possibly have, but I'll just say, hey, I sent you an email, but I send them a text, let them know, hey, thanks so much for that. I sent you an email. Just be on the lookout for it. And it's just asking them how they'd like to get in touch. So, and just that simple thing can really just tailor the whole experience. I like that. Yeah. Absolutely. And then I keep track on my main client board of how they prefer their communication. So that way, when it's like leading up to the shoot, if it's something quick, I can just pop them a text or shoot them an email. So, obviously I still have even for somebody that wants to communicate only in text, we still schedule a call. That's part of the experience to plan the shoot and plan how they're going to view their images or enjoy them and all that stuff. But I know for the touch points in between, how to get in touch with them. And it's very, very helpful. Yes. It's all about that elevated client experience and kind of meeting them where they're at, which is really nice. And realizing who your
who your clients are. And that's something that, again, going back, that's something you learn over time, but you can kind of really tailor the experience to who your clients are and what they prefer in terms of anything, but really communication. But something else that to add on to that contact page that can be really helpful too, as far as like who you're actually, because you don't want to be wasting time getting inquiries that just don't make sense. Like if they're just reaching out and they're just like price or like what, question mark
How
or
much
something.
Is the digital file? I need one digital file for my Christmas card.
Exactly. And so that can kind of help wean out, but also adding to your contact page, if you have, general questions, please be sure to review our FAQ page, things like that to kind of help again, avoid unnecessary questions, save you time, but then also give them clarity immediately. And then they can take that next step and actually be more productive with that next step.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it saves you a lot of time on the call too, of just, having to answer all those extra questions and people want those immediate responses. No matter what the age, I think everybody has now been trained to get things immediately.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's wrap this up with maybe some of your favorite website platforms, because I know one of them is Wix, because you just created a Wix 101 course inside the Hair of the Dog Academy that is everything everybody needs to get started building their own custom website there. And before we move on with that, can you just clarify, because it used to be, I think when they very, very first came out, it was like, oh, a Wix site, because it was just like this free website for everyone. But they actually have a custom website on your own domain. So it's like a legit website too. It's not like my first website, which was NicoleBegleyPhotography.blogspot.com.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah, that's right. Woo-hoo.
No, that's great. Yeah, Wix has really evolved, and they've done a lot to really improve their platform. And the reason why I love it so much is because it's so easy to use, especially for people who are kind of either DIYing their website, or perhaps they just want to be able to maintain their website on their own moving forward after they get it designed by somebody else or use a template. But with Wix now, you can use templates. You can build a website from scratch. You have your own domain. Everything's connected, similar to other platforms and things like that. And I'm a big believer in it depends on your business, what website platform. Like, it's not like I'm saying every single bit, like pet business needs to be on Wix. Absolutely not. It just depends on, what your priorities are and preferences and all of that kind of stuff. But I've done a lot of research when I did get into the website design space, and Google themselves has said that the content itself is more important than the platform that you're actually using on your website. So when it comes to that, it's like, okay, then which one am I actually going to be able to use and maintain moving forward? If you can hire someone, like you can, do WordPress, or if you, or if you're really techie or anything like that. But if you just want a simple platform that you can maintain and upload your own content and blog posts to, like Wix is such a great option.
Yeah, I definitely recommend for people starting out that they look at like the Wix Squarespace options, because man, WordPress is a freaking beast. And back when I moved to WordPress, 2013, 2014, it's been a long time. All these other options didn't really exist. Like I said, Wix at that point was just like, hey, here's our free .wix website. It didn't have nearly the functionality that does now. But I recently moved, my Hair of the Dog still on WordPress, but I recently moved my photography website to Squarespace last year. And it is so nice not having to think about updating plugins and worried every time I update something that I'm going to break something on the site, because it's all hosted. And truly the price of it is the same as doing WordPress, because WordPress you have to pay for the hosting, where the hosting's included with your Wix or Squarespace. So it's really about the same cost.
Right.
And oh my gosh, it is so much easier to not have to worry about that, because we're photographers, not website designers, or really website developers at that point, because we're not even designing,
100%.
we're just making it work.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we've had a lot of, because we do WordPress sites for custom WordPress sites for clients as well. And we have run into issues where someone's like, I tried to edit something and like something else, like something just completely messed up with WordPress.
Right,
so we
right.
have to go in and kind of help them. Whereas Wix, like I've never run into that issue.
Yeah. So nice.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Mikaela, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here. You guys can find her Wix site in the Hair of the Dog Academy if you guys want to join our academy. www.hairofthedogacademy.com/academy to go straight to the information page on that. But Mikaela, if they want to find more information from you and how you can help them, let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, so everything's actually simple. It's all at Pet Marketing Unleashed. Everything is. So my website is petmarketingunleashed.com. You can find me on Instagram at Pet Marketing Unleashed. I also do have a Facebook group for pet industry businesses. It's called Unleash Petpreneurs that you can search on Facebook. But all of that information is directly on my Instagram and on my website as well if they would like to join the community.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, go check it out. Mikaela's got all sorts of great information. And thank you again for being here with us. This was a great conversation, and I think people will really find it helpful.
Yes,
thanks for your time.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast episode, go ahead and take a screenshot of this episode on your phone and post it up there on your Instagram stories, and be sure to tag us at Hair of the Dog Academy. And we would just love to see how you're listening. And full disclosure, sometimes we just like to give away a little pet photographer swag in the form of Hair of the Dog t-shirts and sweatshirts. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and share that screenshot of this episode. And don't forget to tag us at Hair of the Dog Academy. And while you're there, maybe you want to jump on over to our account and see what we're up to on the gram. Would love to connect with you. Thanks for listening to the Hair of the Dog podcast. This was episode number 131. If you want to check out the show notes for access to any of the resources that we mentioned, simply go to www.hairofthedogacademy.com/131.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Hair of the Dog podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please take a minute to leave a review. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. One last thing, if you are ready to dive into more resources, head over to our website at www.hairofthedogacademy.com. Thanks for being a part of this pet photography community.